Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to all of you in this second recorded lecture of week number 5. In first lecture we have discussed the sonic clock, and we have seen that in sonic clock we measure the travel time of the sound wave through the formation, and we have also seen some configuration, borehole compensated sonic tool, long spacing sonic tool, and we have seen that the purpose of using the enhanced configuration to increase the efficiency of the log. Basically, we are interested in measuring the true formation response. We are not interested in measuring the travel time of sound wave through the mud. So all these configurations are trying to eliminate the travel time of sound wave through the mud, and gives you the true formation response when the P waves has only traveled through the formation. There are two occasions when there are possibilities that P waves travel through the mud is reached at detectors. In one case, when you have the transmitter receiver spacing smaller than a critical distance, and in another case when you have a large diameter hole size. So in these two conditions, there are chances that the P waves traveling through the mud is detected at the receiver, rather than the P wave that has traveled through the formation. So when you have a lower transmitter receiver spacing, or you have a very large diameter hole size, the quality of the sonic tool will affect. Log presentation. This log is plotted on track number 3 or track number 2 and 3 combined, depending if the log is run on its own, or if it has been run with other logs. So in this log, basically, as we have seen, that we are measuring the transit time of the sound wave, and transit time is the time traveled by sound waves in 1 foot of the formation, and we present transit time through dt, delta t dt, capital dt, and its unit is microsecond per foot, and the scale for the most formation is between 40 microsecond per foot and 140 microsecond per foot. So the most formations will give you a transit time between 40 microsecond per foot and 140 microsecond per foot. And we have also seen that transit time is inverse of the velocity. So when you inverse the transit time, you will get the velocity of the sound wave in the formation, feet per second. These are the common responses of transit time against the common lithologies. Against shale, you can see you will have around 100 microsecond per foot transit time value, relatively higher values against shale. Against compact sandstone, compact limestone and compact dolomite, you can see you will have the lower transit time values, which indicates that in hard formations the travel time will be low. The sound wave will move very quickly from the hard formation. So from these hard formations, the sound wave will move very quickly, very fast, and you will have a lower transit time, as you can see on this log. Against shale are very soft as compared to the mentioned lithologies. So against shale you will have higher transit times. Against porous sandstone, depending upon the porosity and the fluid content, the transit time can also be higher. Against coal, you can see you will have a higher transit time. Salt and anhydrite, you will have a fixed value of anhydrite. So against anhydrite, you will have a value of around 40 microsecond per foot. Anhydrite are generally imporous and impermeable. So against anhydrite, you will have a value of 50 microsecond per foot. Against salt, you will have a fixed value of around 66.6 microsecond per foot. So these are the common responses of transit time against these lithologies. We have seen that the main use of this log is to calculate porosity, and the concept is quite similar as we have seen in the bulk density log. Transit time basically is a weighted average time of this formation, which is composed of two components. One component is a solid, which is called matrix, and the other component is the fluid, which is present in the pores. So this transit time is the average time traveled by sound wave through this two system rock. One system is a solid, another system is the fluid which is in the pores. So delta T log, the transit time, is basically is a weighted average of the two transit times by this formula. Porosity times the fluid transit time plus solid, which is 1 minus porosity, in times the delta T matrix. So when you rearrange this equation, you will get an equation of porosity. Porosity will be equal to delta T log minus delta T matrix divided by delta T fluid minus delta T matrix. The same concept as we have seen in the bulk density log, that before estimating the porosity, you need to know the matrix density. You need to know the matrix of that zone, along with the fluid content in the zone. So you can only estimate porosity once you have identified the lithology and the fluid content. And just like in bulk density log, there were fixed values for the matrix density, and there were fixed values for the fluid densities. Similarly, in this equation, there will be some fixed value for the delta T matrix, and there will be some fixed values for the delta T fluids. And delta T log is the log value of the transit time. So in this equation, delta T log will be read from the logs along with the lithology and fluid content. The lithologies and the fluid contents need to be identified from the other log responses. So once you have identified the log, the lithologies and the fluid content, then you can use this formula, and this formula is called the Willi time average formula. And again, this formula is principally similar to the formula we have used to calculate porosity from density log. And obviously, other than this formula does not have density, but this formula has the transit time. So these are the typical values for delta T matrix. So if you have identified that this zone where I am calculating the porosity is sandstone, you will use delta T matrix around 55 microsecond per feet. Delta T matrix for limestone will be 49, and delta T matrix for dolomite is 44 microsecond per feet. Again, you guys need to memorize this number, and these numbers will not be provided in the exam. You have to memorize it. You have to memorize the formula, and you should be able to use the formula to calculate the porosities at different zones. Similarly, delta T fluids, these are the transit time of for different fluids. For water, around 189 microsecond per feet. For oil, 240 microsecond per feet. For gas, 280 microsecond per feet. Again, remember that this number changes as the density, salinity changes, but for this course and for calculating the porosity, we will be using this fixed number. So once you identify that this zone is sandstone and containing oil, so for sandstone you will be using 55 microsecond per feet for delta T matrix, and for oil you will be using 240 microsecond per feet for delta T fluid. Similarly, if you have identified that this is the limestone containing, for example, gas, so you will be using 49 and 280 microsecond per feet. So these are the typical numbers. Anhydride and salt, again we have seen that they have also delta T values, but we never calculate porosities against the impermeable zones. So anhydride and salt are impermeable zones, so we will never be calculating porosities in this zone. So this will not be used in equations, but against this number can be used to identify the lithologies. So you can use this formula. This formula is quite similar as we have used in the density log. So for example, a log has been provided to you and you have been asked to calculate the porosity in zone number 2 using the sonic log. Again, you can calculate the porosity using the density and the neutron log. So in this example, we are only calculating the porosity using sonic log. Uh, After the completion of this presentation, we will have a comparison that when to use which log. For example, when the reading of sonic will be reliable, when the readings of density and neutron will be reliable, we will have a comparison. But during exams, during exercises, you need to calculate porosities from all available data. So you have to calculate, for example, if this exercise has been provided to you. So in zone number 2, you will calculate porosity using neutron, using density, using sonic law. So if the answer are similar, your approaches you have used are correct. But if the answers are not matching, for example, sonic is giving you 30%, neutron is giving you 20%, and density is giving you 25%, which means your approaches are incorrect. You have basically something is missing, so you need to go back and correct your concept and correct your identification of your lithology and fluids. So in this example, you have been asked to calculate porosity in zone number 2 using only sonic law. We have done exercises where we have used neutron and density law to calculate porosity at a given zone. So for sonic log, first you should be able to read delta T log value, and you also need to identify the lithology of zone number 2. So from log header, you need to see whether sonic log is available. Yes, sonic log is available, and basically it is plotted on the combined track number 2 and track number 3, and the scale is from 140 microsecond per feet to 40 microsecond per feet, and it is represented through this solid black line. So you have 20 lines, and each line will be equal to 5 microsecond per feet. Again, basically you need to find out the difference between the minimum and maximum, and you need to divide the difference between the number of boxes available. So 100 is the difference between 140 minus 40 is equal to 100 microsecond per feet divided by 20 which means that one small box will be equal to 5 microsecond per feet. So in zone number 2, this is the solid black line that is indicating your sonic response. So 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65 and 70. So in zone number 2, the transit time value is 70 microsecond per feet. So first you read the transit time value from the log response, and you also need to identify lithologies. So PEF log is given to you, and neutron density response and gamma ray response is given to you. So low gamma ray value, PEF value is 5, and neutron density curves are overlapping. So these are the common log responses of the limestone lithology filled with water. So zone number 2 is most likely limestone filled with water. So you now know that zone number 2 is limestone. So delta T matrix will be limestone 49, and since it contains water, delta T fluid will be 189. So 49 delta T matrix, 189 delta T fluid, and delta T log is 70 microsecond per feet. So you know the formula, you now has estimated the values. So PEF value in zone number 2 is 5. Density and neutron responses are overlapping. The gamma ray value is very low. These are the common responses of limestone lithology filled with water. So zone number 2 is most likely limestone filled with water. Density neutron cross plot can also be utilized to confirm the lithology. I am not doing it for now, but for in the exercise, you are also required to confirm the lithology and fluid content through the density neutron cross plot too. So once you identify the lithology, fluid content, and by reading the value, you can calculate the porosity from the formula, and porosity turns out to be around 15%. So zone number 2 have a sonic porosity 15%. Similar example, you have been asked to calculate the porosity in zone number 5 using sonic log. So again, sonic log, before using the formula, you need to identify the matrix of zone number 5 along with the fluid content, For that, we need to use the gamma ray and PEF value and density neutron separation. So zone number 5 has low gamma ray value, the PEF value is around 3, and you have a positive separation. And so this is a positive separation, and we have seen that uh, in the positive density neutron separation can only be possible in shale or in dolomite zone. So zone number 5 can be either shale or dolomite. PEF value is 3 and low gamma ray value. So from low gamma ray value, PEF value 3, and from this positive separation, it is confirmed that zone number 5 is the dolomite filled with water. Again, you can confirm this by plotting the density neutron value on the density neutron cross plot. So zone number 5 is dolomite with water, and the value of neutron log of the sonic log in zone number 5 is around 61. So 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, and slightly higher than 60, 61. So the log sonic value in zone number 5 is 61 microsecond per feet. PEF value in zone number 5 is 3. Density neutron responses show that you have positive separation. The gamma ray log value is low, and these are the common responses of dolomite lithology filled with water. So the lithology is dolomite and the fluid is water. So you read delta T matrix and delta T fluid from the dolomite and water. So delta 61 is the delta T log value minus delta T matrix 44 for dolomite divided by delta T fluid 189 minus the 44, and it turns out that the porosity from the sonic log in zone number 5 is 11%. Again, you will also calculate porosity from other logs, and you will compare and try to find out that they should be consistent. If they are not consistent, there is some problem. The most common method is to calculate porosity is through the Willy time average calculation, but this is the most preferred method of estimating porosity from sonic log, and this formula has been estimated through the field observation, and this is called the Raymer-Hunt equation. So this is just for information. In the exams or in the exercises, you will calculate porosity through the Willy time average equation. We will not be using this Raymer-Hunt. The second important use of the sonic log is to identify the fractured zone, the secondary porosity zone, and the principle behind using this is that the sound wave avoids the larger pores. For example, in this case, there is a large bug, and basically bugs are created by when your matrix is absorbed by your fluids. So this is a large bug, and when the sound wave come across this bug, the velocity of the P waves through this pore or the large bug will be slower as compared to the velocity of the sound wave that is moving surrounding this bug. So a detector, the P wave that has traveled through the formation will come earlier as compared to the P wave that has traveled through this large pore. So on the log responses, the fastest sonic path through the formation will dominate the log. So generally, the sound wave that has detected at the detector has avoided these large pores which has developed through the secondary porosity. So sonic log propagation can avoid seeing bugs and larger pores. So the sonic porosity will appear lower than that seen by other porosity tools. Density and neutron logs will give you the total porosity of the formation, the total porosity that includes primary and secondary porosity, but the sonic log only gives you the primary porosity. It does not give you the secondary porosity. So on log responses, when at a particular zone you have higher porosities as indicated by density and neutron log, but sonic log on the other hand is giving you lower porosity, which means that zone is most likely the fractured zone. So the sonic log is sensitive only to the primary porosity. By contrast, the density and neutron logs record the total porosity, and the difference between the two measurements therefore can be used to calculate a value for the secondary porosity, whether it is isolated wugs or in carbonates or fractures. And as I have mentioned, that secondary porosity generally occurs in the carbonates, limestone and dolomite. For example, a log section has been provided to you and you have been asked to identify the fractured zone in this log section. And we have seen that in fractured zone is identified through comparing the density neutron value with the sonic value. So against a fracture zone, density neutron will give you higher values because they measure the total porosity, but the sonic log will give you lower value because sonic only sees the primary porosity. Sonic log does not see the secondary porosity because it bypasses the larger wugs. So we have to identify the fracture zone in this log section, and as mentioned, that fracture zone is identified through comparing log responses of neutron density and sonic log for the same lithology. And same lithology means the gamma ray and PEF values are not changing across the zone and have similar values. So if you identify a thick section which has the same gamma ray and PEF values, and across this section you have some zones which have higher neutron and density values, but against the higher density and neutron porosity values you have a low values of sonic value. That will indicate that this zone will be the fractured zone in this log section. So if gamma ray PEF values are constant for an interval, and also the sonic log value is constant for that interval, but the density and neutron values are changing, this is probable because of the fractures in that particular zone. Sonic log only measures the primary porosity, but neutron and density log values measure the total porosity. So in this log section, zone number 6, as written, that zone number 6 is the fractured zone in this log section. And when you compare zone number 5, 6 and 7, zone number 5, 6 and 7 has a low gamma ray value and same gamma ray value. 5, 6 and 7, these three zones have a similar gamma ray values, similar PEF values. So they are these three zones have similar lithologies, same gamma ray and same PEF values. Across 5, 6, 7 you also see that you have a same sonic values, but density and neutron log values have changed in zone number 6. In against 5 and 7 you can see that neutron values and density values are same, but across 6 zone neutron values has increased and density values has decreased, both indicating that zone number 6 is porous. Neutron value has increased and bulk density has decreased. So bulk density decrease means that this zone has higher porosity, and similarly neutron porosity has increased, which means that this zone has high neutron porosity value. So this zone number 6, you have high neutron value and low bulk density, but the sonic log value hasn't not changed from 5 till 7 zone. Sonic log value is same. So when sonic value is same, PEF value is same, and gamma ray is value is same, but density and neutron is changing. That indicate that zone, which is zone number 6, is the fractured zone. Again, the concept behind is that density and neutron both are measuring the total porosity. That includes primary and secondary porosity. So if secondary porosity has occurred in zone number 6, which means that the total porosity has increased from zone number 5 and 7. So zone number 6 has higher total porosity value now because it has secondary porosity also, but the sonic basically is not changing. That shows that sonic does not measure the this secondary porosity. So this is an important use of the sonic log. So basically by comparing with density and neutron, you can identify the secondary porosity zone. Identifying secondary porosity zone is also very important because when you have high secondary porosity value, which means you have higher permeability in that zone. So when you have higher permeability, which means that higher production rates are possible. So if someone asks you that uh, which zone will produce more, whether zone number 5, 6 or 7, first of all we need to identify whether they have hydrocarbons or not. Now for example, somehow you identified that zone number 5, 6 and 7 are pay zone, which means they have hydrocarbon. So if someone asks you that which zone among these three zones will produce more, so since we know that zone number 6 is the fractured zone, and fractured zone generally have very high permeabilities. So zone number 6 will have higher production rate as compared to zone number 5 and 7. You can also confirm the permeability with respect to caliper and bit size. You can see that in zone number 6 the caliper log is on the left side as compared to bit size more as compared to zone number 5 and 7, which means that against zone number 6 you have a thick mud cake. So against the zone number 6 you have a thick mud cake, and thick mud cake basically is an indication of more permeability. So zone number 6 is more permeable, more porous as compared to zone number 5 and 7. So sonic log is very useful in identifying the secondary porous system. As mentioned over here that the raw sonic measurement in earlier tool was the transit time measurement, which is the time taken to travel from transmitter to receiver. The long transmitter receiver spacing allows the transit time measurement to read deeper into the formation, so avoiding near wellbore alteration zones caused by drilling. For the same reason, the transit time measurement is fairly insensitive to small washouts of up to 10 cm or inch. The sonic signal can find a path unaffected by the enlarged hole size. This is basically another application of sonic log, and in this slide basically it has been mentioned that sonic tool will give you a true formation reading even you have a small washout. So in washout zone we have seen that, for example, in density tool and in neutron tool we have seen that they have shallow depth of investigation. Density tool has a very shallow depth of investigation, and most of the readings are basically coming around few inches from of the tool. But in sonic tool, as mentioned in this slide, that the readings can basically you can have a formation reading even you have a small washout. Basically again it is the same principle that the P waves from the formation will travel faster than the P waves through the mud. So when you have a washout, which means you have a mud, so the P waves will become slower in the washout zone. When all other logs are not reliable, the sonic log can still be trusted as it avoids the near wellbore washout region and can provide the reliable formation rating. So basically this is the conclusion from the previous slide, and this is one of the usefulness of the sonic log, that when density and neutron log cannot be trusted because you have a caving on washout, in that particular case you can still trust the sonic log. For example, in this example you have been asked to identify zone number 1 in this log section, and as you can see in zone number 1 you have a large caving. So zone number 1 basically the actual hole size is very large as compared to the bit size, and bit size for example is around 12.25 inch, and the actual hole size is around 17 inch. Remember that we have also done an example when we were studying caliper log, and we have made the hole shape, and we have seen that the hole shape in this zone number 1 is also circular, 17 inch from one side and 17 inch from other side, because two calipers have been run in this log section, and when two calipers have been run you can make the hole shape. So hole shape is circular and the hole size is around 17 inch, much higher than the bit size. Bit size was 12.25 inch and the hole size is around 17 inch. So you have a large washout or caving in zone number 1. So the PEF log, as you can see, PEF log, remember that PEF log has a very shallow measurement. So PEF log cannot be used when you have a washout. Similarly, density log cannot be used when you have a washout, a large washout. So PEF log and density log will give you wrong readings in the washout zone, because we have seen that density correction, the spine and nip correction, is only acceptable when you have when you have a small washout. So in the zones of large washout or caving, even the density correction cannot be applied. Similarly, density log, similarly the neutron log also has limitations. When you have a large washout, obviously you will have mud in that zone, and neutron log will be measuring the hydrogen index of the mud. So neutron log can also be not trusted. So when you have large washout caving, PEF, density, neutron, density correction, all logs cannot be trusted. So in that case, the sonic log can be trusted, because sonic log can avoid the small washouts and washout to some extent. So zone number 2, basically when you see the zone number 2, you see that it has it is a permeable zone, and hole size is smaller than the bit size. So when the actual hole size is around bit size, the logs can be trusted. So gamma ray log, PEF log, neutron density, and sonic log, all logs are reliable. So from the log responses in zone number 2, we see that it's a limestone. The same sonic response which you have in zone number 2 is also you have in zone number 1. So zone number 1 is also the limestone zone from the sonic response of zone number 2. Washout, or more likely the original larger hole zone below casing. Zone number 1, basically you have a large washout, and it is just generally common phenomena when you have run casing. So above zone number 1 you have casing, and it is the zone just below your casing. So when you have the zone just below the casing, the hole size is larger because of the different testing we performed once casing and cementing has done. So this zone has a larger diameter, and the formation of zone number 1 is most likely as the same of zone number 2 because of the sonic and gamma ray log. So in zone number 1, sonic log is reliable, and sonic log in zone number 1 is similar to that of zone number 2. So by basically correlating that sonic log, we can say that zone number 1 is same as that of zone number 2. And since zone number 2 is the limestone, we can say that zone number 1 is also the limestone. So this is basically another example or use of the sonic log, that you can use this log in washout and caving zone to identify the lithology. The another application of the sonic log is to identify the overpressured zone or the abnormal pressure zone. And we have seen in neutron log that how do we identify the overpressured zone through bulk density and neutron log responses. Same concept. Basically, the sonic log can be used to detect overpressured zone in a well, and basically when you have an overpressured zone, you will have a higher porosity in that zone, and when you have higher porosity in that zone, you will have a higher travel time. We have seen that basically when you have a thick section, with depth the porosity decreases. So porosity in the top section generally is higher, and with depth porosity decreases, and with decrease in porosity the bulk density increases. We have seen that with decrease in porosity, bulk density decreases. And when basically apply this concept to transit time, so with depth porosity is decreasing, which means that the travel time also decreases. So when you have normal compaction, porosity is decreasing from top to bottom, bulk density is increasing, and travel time is decreasing from top to bottom. And when you have a break in this trend, which means at a certain depth, instead of decreasing travel time, the travel time has increased, which means that this break in trend indicating that you have the overpressure zone. So that can be seen from this response, that in general compaction you have the with depth the transit time is decreasing, because porosity is decreasing. So with decrease in porosity, uh, the transit time decreases. But when you have the abnormal pressure zone, this trend changes, because in abnormal pressure zone you have higher porosity, higher fluids, higher transit time as compared to normal compaction. So when you have a break in the normal trend, and that break in normal trend can be because of this um, abnormal pressure condition in your reservoir. Similarly, the other use of the neutron log is to identify the gas zone, and as mentioned here, that gas has a low density, and because of this low density in the formation, you will have a higher transit time. And for example, in this log response, you can see that top section has the gas zone, and you have oil zone. So you can see in the gas zone, the transit time is higher as compared to the bottom zone. So when you have a gas zone, you will have higher transit time. And for example, if you are measuring both the compressional velocities, compressional waves and the shear waves, and when you plot Vp upon Vs, uh, velocity of the shear compressional waves divided by the shear wave is Vp upon Vs against the compressional time, and when the point fall on the bottom right, basically this indicates a gas zone. And this obviously used in modern logging, where you not only measure the P waves, you also measure the shear waves. So when you are measuring P waves and shear waves, and you are measuring the transit time, and when you plot Vp upon Vs versus transit time, and the point when falls on the bottom right, it will indicate that this zone is a most likely gas zone, because Vp decrease significantly in gas, as we have seen that the transit time increase in gas zone. So transit time increase, and we have seen that velocity is the inverse of the transit time. So transit time increases, which means velocity decreases. So Vp decreases significantly in gas, but we know that shear waves does not affect much, because shear waves does not pass through the fluids. Shear waves will only flow through the solids. So Vs does not change. So when Vp upon Vs is plotted and point fall on the right, bottom right, it will indicate the gas zone. This is a summary from the sonic tool, that from a sonic log you derive porosity using Willi time equation or Ramer Hunt. Again, we have seen that we will be using Willi time equation for this course only. In bed holes, the sonic porosity is more representative than density neutron plot, and a plot of Vp upon Vs versus combustion time can indicate gas. Secondary porosity we can identify through sonic porosity law. These are basically the comparison of the density, neutron and sonic log, and we have seen that the density log has a very shallow investigation, and because of this it cannot be applied in bed hole reservoir. So when you have a large washout or caving, you cannot use density log to calculate porosity. You can only use sonic log to calculate porosity in bed holes. We've also seen that neutron log will not give you reliable porosities in shale or shaly zone. So when you have shaly zone, you cannot use neutron log, you can use density and sonic log. But again, for that you have to use shale correction. You need to calculate volume of shale from gamma ray log, and basically once you know the volume of shale, you need to apply that volume of shale correction in the density log. You have to use matrix density, which is now mixture of sand plus shale. So in shaly zone you need to use accurate matrix density to calculate porosity. Again, neutron log will not be reliable in in shallow zone. But neutron log is reliable, more reliable as compared to density and sonic log in clean carbonates. So when you have a clean carbonates, limestone or dolomite, you can trust neutron log more other than density and sonic log. Uh, Basically, this method, the density method, is difficult to use accurately in gas reservoir due to the difficulty of determining the appropriate fluid density of the flash zone. Uh, Again, we have discussed each and basically each method, and seeing that some methods are good in some occasion, some methods are good in other occasion. The summary is that at a particular zone you will calculate porosity using all these three methods. Again, we will calculate porosity in permeable zones only, in pay zones only. So first you identify the pay zones, the most likely zone which can be pay zones, and you will calculate porosities in all permeable zones. And at a particular zone, you will calculate porosity using three logs, and you will compare the porosities from these logs, and if the answer are correct, basically your interpretation is correct. This is the conclusion. That's all from my side for this second lecture of week number 5.